Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Unfinished Business Podcast, episode 56 live.
Hi.
This is an emergency podcast. We did not plan to record this week.
Emergency.
Huge news. We've got Ricky
Breaking news.
Wysocki confirmed to Discraft as of yesterday, February the 4th, 2025. So we're going to hop on to a quick little episode purely dedicated to Richard Wysocki and how we feel about this move. So I will say, I'll start off by saying there were a lot of rumors about this. I was still surprised. I was in the boat of like, this is all a meme. Ricky's not leaving. It's too late in the off season. Like, there's no way. And then, lo and behold, once again, as many times in my life, I am wrong. So how about everybody else?
I'll just say this. I'll start off by saying Discraft has about 55, little less than 55,000 subs on their YouTube channel. And Ricky's Building the Bag has 40,000 views in 8 hours. So if you think that Ricky going to Discraft isn't that big a deal, you're wrong. Because I think it's a massive.
Would you say it moves the needle?
It moves my needle, I'll tell you that.
Oh,
much.
it moves the needle. I'll tell you that. I will agree with that statement.
And I feel bad for Ezra Robinson because I feel like he was a new, young, upcoming guy. They're an exciting piece of shiny jewelry. And I feel like this is how I can explain it, right? Ezra is that brand new piece of jewelry that just came out. And Ricky's coming through, who is just like that fine, old-fashioned jewelry wine coming through, where when you get that one piece in your jewelry shop, you're like, wow, and everyone comes to look at it. So the Malta and Ezra, no one cares about it anymore. And Ezra's like, hey, I got my in the bag coming up soon. No one cares at this point, I would say. We're all eyes are on Ricky Wysocki. It just happened.
I still care.
I do too. But I mean, like, you can't tell me we all rushed to watch Building the Bag with Ricky. We all watched that in a matter of like 15 minutes and all commented each other about how dumb it was of someone else picking out your disc in your bag.
Yeah, let's I know Tyler had written some questions down. I think that's a great segue right into that, just in like of the off-season moves for Discraft, right? Like, who gets you more excited? I think, Tyler just kind of provided the answer that Ricky over Ezra for sure. I think it's hard because, again, Ezra, I do feel bad for him because he's the up-and-comer, right? Like, you're expecting him to win, like, and I think I'm a Prodigy apologist, but I think it almost is a little bit because it's harder for me to like identify, like, I don't know what Ezra was throwing with Prodigy, right? But a big reason I wanted to go see Building the Bag with Ricky is like, I want to know what Rick's going to throw because I have like years documented knowledge of what Ricky likes to throw. So me personally, as someone who doesn't know a lot about Discraft, I feel like that tells me a lot about those molds and like what he's looking for. So yeah, I would love to say it was Ezra, but for me, it's definitely Rick, just having that, proven decade of being a top 3 player, having a huge switch like this at this point in his career. And also, I do want to highlight a 3-year deal, which I feel like is more than I was expecting, at least as far as contract length. So yeah, it's definitely Ricky for me as well.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked, but I was very impressed with how well Discraft can do like just the whole shebang for a person.
No helicopter though.
Is it weird that this was more hype than the helicopter?
Is it though?
Yes, because it was done correctly.
I think I was.
Yeah, I feel like if Discraft did the helicopter, it would be like bigger.
I mean, Ricky got the helicopter. He got the on-site interview with Luke Humphreys. I mean, he got the disc like immediately.
I think the difference...
I know what you're saying, Corey, and I feel like they did a better job of taking a lot less to get like more hype for the amount of energy they used.
I think for me, the big difference between the DD announcement and the Discraft announcement is simply that Rick was on Trilogy before. And I think the writing was more on the wall that he wanted out of that Innova deal, where, with the Latitude 64 bag, he was throwing a lot of DD. There was already kind of that overlap where like, this is something completely different. And at least for me, much more unexpected. So I think that's why it's hit a little bit harder than kind of the helicopter, which was more at the end of the day, I mean, it was sick, but more of a meme than anything. Right.
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, how many more people can they sign?
That's my question. It's like at this
And
point,
why?
at this point, we've got AB, Paul, Ricky, all on, plus a bunch of other players. Ezra just pops on there. We've got all these. Innova has Calvin and Bradley.
Yeah, so
That's
I looked up
Really?
beforehand. I was going to bring this up because I have kind of a take that this might be potentially like kind of bad for disc golf. 2024 top 10 point standing, 50% is Discraft. Now, 30% Discmania, and then what is it like? I think Calvin is the Innova guy, and Isaac with Latitude now. But yeah,
Does it go Discraft, Discmania, Innova?
So I can read it. From 24 was Gannon, Ricky, Nicholas, Calvin, Isaac, Paul, Ezra Robinson, AB, Chris Dickerson, Kyle Klein was the top 10.
Dickerson is on Discraft too.
I couldn't. Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Chris had a sneaky good year last year. I feel like
he had a good year, but not like his standard year. Yeah. But the thing was, he was injured. Like that gets overlooked.
Right.
He like had like not a broken hip, but like a serious hip injury.
Yeah, I know Ricky mentioned like how he put it was like he was going to the Dodgers of disc golf. Like, I mean, you think of it in that sense in like a sport that doesn't have a salary cap, and obviously the whole team thing's misconstrued in disc golf, I think anyway, not to open that can of worms again. But they're dominant for sure in the sport, and I think it could be a point of diminishing returns, right? Like how many good molds do you have to put a player's name on to like sell Tour Series discs when you've got, you know, the Avengers on your side of like every good player?
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like Discraft, and I would even throw Innova in there. They are like the Walmarts, and all of the other companies are like the homegrown local store. I don't think they're playing with the same amount of money.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Discraft sells so much that I feel like they have gotten to another level, and it doesn't matter what anyone else can do. They're always going to sell discs.
Yeah, I think that's valid. Like, and I think you're right. Discraft and Innova are definitely, even if Innova does nothing, they're going to be in Dick's Sporting Goods, and that's going to push it a ton there. But my question is like, I think what Taylor's saying is like, how much more value do they really get from one more pro? Like, at what point is it no longer worth? Let's add another pro to the roster. Well, I think you're going to get from Ricky, but
we also have to look at like they weren't really going for Rick. Right. It's not like they were like, "Hey, we're going to steal you out of your contract."
Right.
We already knew there was like shaky stuff with DD, and they were probably like, "Yeah, come on board."
I think one of the positives for Discraft, what they do probably better than most other companies, you know, especially House of Disc, like the KL zones are like all the new signature series stuff are like $18. Like they're not the $28 Isaac Robinson disc, right? Or like the $32 Generals. They're, you know, they're reasonably priced discs. So it's not like you're, you know, paying a ton more for something that is a signature series versus, you know, just a zone off the rack.
Well, so even the Buzzsaws or like the fused stuff, that's only I think 22 or 23.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
Disc golf is healing.
Well, I don't think Discraft ever peaked over like 25. It was either $23.99 or $24.99 were the
signatures. Oh, okay. Then I think $24.99 sounds about right.
Yeah. They've never gone past that, and I think they know like it's better to sell more and to have more people like coming back than trying to go, oh, this is $32. Yeah. Come help support this one guy, and then you buy one and you're like, well, I'm never doing that ever again.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. My main question that I was thinking about that I sent to all our group was like, who won this partnership? Was it this really helped Discraft? Like, who helped who more? Did Discraft help Ricky more, or do you think Ricky's actually helping Discraft more at this point?
I think Discraft is going to help Rick more at the end of the day. I think Discraft does a much better job marketing their players, which we know. But I was also actually looking. I've been thinking a lot about, you know, did DD fail Rick? Like, what really went wrong there? Yeah. If you look at Rick's signature series of discs, General is what, like a 12.404, got the slammer. got the
They're all
felon.
stables.
It's like the most overstable stuff you can think of. I think, that's one thing that Paul did really well with his line. He's like, I'm not going to throw a Hades, but I'm going to make a Hades, because there's a lot more people that can use that can use a Venom, right? So I think that Discraft has that down to more of a science of like how to push and promote a player versus really any other brand. And that is, play is there with Rick. That is not something you need to worry about unless his Lime flares up again or something completely random. Like, he is going to be a top 5 player. And I think of all the chess pieces like you can give that to, who is going to benefit the most from it, it is Discraft. But in that, I think that helps Ricky more, because he's now with the best fit as far as like who can market me the best.
It's sad because I feel like the type of person Ricky's like this, like a little bit of an outcast, quirky guy, but still really good, which I feel like was Discraft before Paul Macbeth got there.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel bad that like Ricky, either the approach that Discraft had for Paul was never given to Ricky, or had the chance, at least that we know of. Because I feel like this is a great fit for like Ricky's image. I think he like fits in very, very well with what Discraft does, I think. So the one thing I was thinking about as well is that I would love to know the lore of how Discraft really got Paul Macbeth to switch from Innova to Discraft. That's something I've thought of, because the reason why I'm thinking about that is because they're just pulling everybody in at this point. So it's like, imagine what Paul has done for Discraft to give them the money to be able to continue to do all this stuff. But also, like, what did Bob Julio or what are these other guys do at Discraft to really like start this like legendary run, in the last 8 years, pretty much, when they got Paul.
Yeah. That's interesting. That'd be interesting to know some details. I'm gonna spite back a little bit. Kevin's in the comments here. He says the value of One More Pro. Ricky's in the bag video was posted 9 hours ago, has 42K views. Paul Macbeth posted a battle video with Dylan Cease 10 hours ago, 10K views. I think this is a brand new signing. Rick was also one of the top players of last year and had $9.99 signature Saki Bomb felons sitting on Dynamic's website for 6 months. So I think that Ricky does do a lot, or could do a lot. We'll see. I would love to know. If I was Ricky, it would be so interesting to see, like, if he changes nothing about how he promotes discs, how many more discs does he sell versus Dynamic? Did he have those numbers? Like, that would be such an interesting thing. So that's just my thought. I do think this could work really well for Ricky, as Tyler said. And I think it's going to work well for Ricky. But yeah. I mean, I think a note on that comment too, like, In the Bags always do insanely well. Like, I just looked, his 2024 on his personal channel, In the Bag, got 35,000 views, and like a new player gives you 4 times the amount of value as an old player, as far as the manufacturer side. Just real quick, I think the biggest thing that Discraft has done, as far as like your question, Tyler, is like being incredibly player centric and player helpful, in that, like, one of Paul's longtime frustrations with Innova is he could never get a number of how many discs he sold. Like, that's why he kind of messed around with what his signature models were. Like, he was throwing the crate for a long time to like see how much he could move those, because he just could not get insight into how much he was truly worth. Whereas Discraft's been like, hey, join our team. We've got a marketing department. We'll get you a logo. We'll get you a website. We'll sell and pack all the orders through our website. Where a lot of times, I mean, especially back then, players were doing that. Like, you were trying to sell discs. You were sending them out. You were trying to like find ways on the road to do this. And I think one of the biggest thing that Discraft has done there is like brought that in the house for them to like take that burden off the player. I know that's one thing Paige Pierce talked about a lot as well. Is like, hey, like, I don't have to try to sell discs on Instagram anymore and ship them myself. Like, they'll just ship them out of the Discraft warehouse, and it's so much easier.
Yeah. I was very curious what he was going to be throwing.
Yeah. I know
what he was interested in throwing, I guess you could say.
Before we talk about Before we talk about this in the pod, we said like they did such a better job. Or we're talking about it in the middle as well. They did such a better job with Ricky's just looking at discs and picking out discs than the helicopter. It's because we're a bunch of nerds, and that's what we all want to know. And so when you say let's put 2 pros in a warehouse digging around and finding stuff, we're instantly gonna watch that. But yeah, like Corey said, I'm super excited to like see what Ricky's throwing. And then on top of that, they're just going to make Raptors. They're going to be almost the exact same price as a stock Raptor. that are sitting there that just look a little different. And even if you're like, oh, I need a Raptor, you're never going to be mad about grabbing something that looks like a Z Raptor with a little extra stuff on it. It's kind of a double-edged sword there where they're making stuff for him and then they're popping it on already popular stuff that looks really similar already.
They almost took the Raptor and did the same thing they did to, what was it, the Meteor and the Scorch?
Yeah, that's what
where they did like the 2 stamps. That. Yeah, it's almost like they won by saying, oh, we could just do the double stamp for Rick and then not worry about making a new logo for the Raptor. I thought it was hilarious that I don't know if he like was supposed to say this or what, but he was like, yeah, Bob's really trying to get me to throw the Zone GT, which is really funny. And I also think that's what happened with the Malta with Ezra. And I'm curious if they're like, let's just try and push discs that we know that don't sell that well. And I have a theory that it's not that Zone GT that he's going to have. He's going to have the ringer top.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, I think they can come out with that because it's already PDGA approved, but they haven't made it a real mold yet. And for Rick to have like a signature, like that's his disc or something, people would eat that.
We can't say this. We have to say this. I feel like Foundation Disc Golf had a real impact on the amount of people that acted like they were about to throw banger zones like nobody's business.
Oh, easily.
Only to immediately never discuss it again.
Yeah, that fell off real hard.
Yeah, any warehouse tour would be good. I think in this case it made sense because Paul Yuli is the team captain. But go ahead, Tyler.
But how about Yuli telling Rick and having a discussion about the Scorch? Like, oh yeah, like this is like your long turnover comeback. I'm like, bro, Ricky throws a flex. He throws a Scorch on a flex. That sucker is never coming back. It's just.
I mean, he did. Yeah, he did say that. He was like, I can throw flippy stuff. I don't want to.
Like, I'm sitting here listening to this conversation of brother-in-laws, which I thought were decently knew each other, but I felt like they didn't know each other. And then why doesn't Paul just say, "Hey, Rick, what kind of disc are you looking for?" And then ask that question instead of, you should do this, you should do that. It's like, dude, who wants to sit here and watch Paul Yuleberry tell Ricky what he should be throwing? What are we doing here? I thought that was dumb.
I just want to point out too, I thought it was hilarious how much Rick was gassing up the Luna, by the way.
Oh my gosh, he wanted a Luna so
I think
bad.
There's a lot of immediate questions of is he going to throw like Paul discs? Is he going to throw shade? And then immediately that whole video is like, yo, where the Lunas at though?
Let me get those Lunas.
Well, I think it's funny that I feel like Paul stepped away from the Luna because of the Kratos. He's like, oh yeah, I really wanted a beaded putter that I can chuck and putt with and stuff. What?
I gotta stop. Yeah, everyone,
there's a fraudulent comment in the comment section right now.
Hammer DG in the comments of our live stream. Come join our live stream. Just said Discraft doesn't even have a stable approach, do they? Excuse me, what?
This is from the mind
everyone. Spell it out in the chat right now.
This is from the mind that brought you. Discmania was the first to do personality discs or creator series discs.
And Discmania is the first to do a stiffer plastic on the outside, a softer plastic on the inside.
Hey,
Sorry, Matt. I thought that face was about the Luna.
Oh, no. I agree with you. I agree.
He doesn't really care about it. Well, he cares about the Luna, but he doesn't. It's not like his go-to.
Did Paul actually switch to putting with the Kratos as well? I thought he was still.
Yeah. You're talking 3-speed, bro. What the difference between a 3-speed and a 4-speed is? Millimeter.
I cannot look at the chat because this is going to devolve into a flight numbers conversation.
We can't. Let's stick on this. My thing is this, right? So I'm gonna wrap this thing up, but I'll ask my last thing I'm thinking about. By the way, is Brody still on any part of Discraft's team in any capacity?
Yes.
Did I miss?
He's on the
tour team, I think.
Yeah, tour.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. So I was wondering, I was wondering what involvement there is and how much money is involved with that.
And honestly, I don't think that removes the Get Freaky. They
just said they're going to sell it all through Foundation instead. So all of his, they're still going to make discs for him and merch. It's just all going to be through Foundation instead of the Team Discraft website.
Yeah. Dude, the Harp is a 4-speed. Okay, sorry. No more chat looking. Okay.
Either way, they have the Extreme.
Chat, I just can't right now. We're in the emergency.
Either way, they have the Extreme and it's a 6-speed. They have
Yeah.
the drone. It's a 5-speed. There's a lot of approach overstable.
My main question is this. Okay, are we going to see some Paul and Ricky collab of any sort at all for the next 3 years? Because I'm telling you right now, any collab that Ricky and Paul does of any sort, everyone else on that elite team is like non-existent anymore. No one gives a crap about anyone else if we get Ricky and Paul doing collab work. Maybe AB gets involved with that because
AB gets
those three are kind of tight. I think AB and Ricky, I don't know how tight they are, but they live near each other. But those three can do work, and I feel bad for everyone else because they're just non-existent then.
Yeah. And also AB and Ricky just popped their first podcast episode out on Jomez. So that's
I think they're pretty close.
Popped a pilot episode. Yeah, I think they're decently close. Yeah. To be honest, I don't mind that either. As Corey said, like if they're going to be doing it and they're going to be doing it well, how am I going to be mad? And how is Discraft going to be mad? You know?
Yeah.
I also don't think that the Paul Ricky. I think that's more on our end that we think they're rivals.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
As soon as the tournament ends, they go back to being buddies. I don't
There
think
was a phase where they did not like each other.
I don't know if they're buddies.
Yeah,
I don't think they hate each other, but I don't think they're buddies.
There's somewhere you can go find a radio interview where like Rick talks for like 10 minutes about how at some worlds down the stretch, like Paul was like very much trying to, in competition, but like trying to say he didn't have his disc marked or whatever, and like any rule he could get to like stroke Rick, and like they were very like fired up about it. So there was at least a time, which I mean, before they were both very good, they were also tour partners for a time too. So like there's both sides of it. So I definitely don't think it's something like they absolutely hate each other, but there's definitely a time where they did dislike each other.
It's just such a dynamic that we've been all waiting for in the disc golf world. Like imagine if Tiger and Phil Mickelson got on TaylorMade together and started collabing with one another. That would break the golf internet. And so that's why I'm saying anything with Ricky and Paul is going to break disc golf. It just is. Like I will be so locked in to watch whatever content they put out.
Yeah.
One guy's a hyzer flip guy. The other guy's a flex guy. I mean, come on.
Match made in
Mac,
heaven.
I'm not even going to address that.
I will say one thing about Ricky that I've noticed is when he does videos on his own channel and it's very like relaxed, he's talking almost to just someone holding the camera instead of the camera. He's way better at speaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
When he's trying to close a video on walking through the Discraft warehouse, he goes on for like what seems like 10 minutes of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say at the end, but thanks. Yeah. And it was really awkward.
He's definitely so much more comfortable on his own channel, just like talking with someone he knows who has a camera. It's actually, it didn't help. Like the way that cameraman like dragged on him as he was like outroing, but also walking to his putting putters at the same time was not a good work.
What do we think about the putting putters?
I knew he was gonna have something. That was the biggest thing with Innova. Like if you, I was like, that was still when I was peak, like watch every round of every tournament on Jomez, like insanity. When he was on Innova, his distance was definitely like way different than any of his trilogy days, but his putting was horrendous. Like in terms of Ricky putting, where you expect if he's within 60, he's going to make it. And I think that was a lot to, I mean, the Dagger is a very unique putter. I don't think I've felt a putter in my life that is as deep as that thing. So that was my first question
Chicago
with this craft.
deep dish.
Yeah, of like, what is he going to putt with? It's definitely deeper than a P2.
Oh, okay. Dude,
I've never felt the Dagger. So
it's like a cereal bowl. It's insane.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Who do you think anyone from Discraft is gonna pick up on his disc?
No.
It's
a very unique putter.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if anyone
on one then.
Yeah, on DD is gonna or head down that or was using that either. But no, that's the fact they're already like 5 or 6 iterations in too.
Yeah, that was interesting.
This thing will get ready, or they've had some idea that this is happening for a while now.
Do you think what percent do you guys think this impacts? I mean, season's coming up. We got picks to start making soon. Like, is anybody picking Rick top 3 for first event of the year? Fresh on a pretty new bag.
I'll be the first one to put it out there that Rick could win Worlds.
Yeah.
What's
I can see him
the
doing well.
second
I
event?
mean, that's not really a wild take, but he's
Right.
got to win Worlds eventually.
What's the second event this year? First is obviously Florida,
Florida
Usually it's
and
like
then Texas.
Waco or
I was
something
say
like
one of
that.
the Texas tournaments.
Texas.
He does well in
I mean,
Texas. usually.
isn't there? I was gonna say, isn't there one that he's won like every single year?
Texas State, he won. Yeah.
I think he wins one of the Texas ones.
That
I
would be
think
sick.
he does decent in Florida, but he's still trying to figure it out, and then he wins one of the Texas ones. I'd love to see him with a giant cowboy hat.
Yeah, so Supreme Flight Open, Waco, Open at Austin, Music City Open. So there's no Texas
Austin's
States
the
this
one
year.
where you get a hat, right?
It is.
Mhm.
I want, for some reason, have you ever seen that picture where they photoshopped Big Germ's hat way bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a cowboy hat.
So far, like
from Scary Movie 3.
So far, the cowboy hat winners being Gannon Burr and Nicholas Antala are like so peak, like people that would never
Yeah.
actually wear a
Funny.
cowboy hat in their life.
Yeah.
The funniest.
I think go
I
ahead.
feel like that
Tyler.
would be a good stamp. Cowboy
I was-
hat and then like raptor legs.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like Ricky
Could
needs
lasso
a
the
copy.
Raptor.
Yeah.
This is starting to get out of control. I think Ricky needs a copy and paste.
Okay, Tyler?
I'm great. I think Ricky needs a copy paste whatever AB's got in his bag for right now, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
when
it's going to end up being there's like a generic Discraft bag
Mhm.
that like that's kind of what Paul was doing. Paul Ulebear like kind of walked through and said
Yeah,
like,
just like
well,
the
you need one of
staples.
these, you need
Yeah.
one of these, you need one of these. I think it's going to be a lot of like Nuke OSs. It's going to be a lot of Venoms. It's going to be a lot of like zones, maybe Zone OS.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was excited about the
He's
swarm.
Flexy. So
So,
he-
well, the
he used
swarm
a lot of
is
Anheuser.
like Buzz OS.
Yeah.
So that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I could see him really fitting well with the Buzz as well.
Yeah. I mean, everyone does when they get to.
Yeah, when
Discraft.
Paul was like, "You need a Buzz SS," and he was
Yeah,
like,
I
"Why?
know.
I want a Buzz up," and he's like, You can't get a Buzz that flips up, buddy. Your brother-in-law's with the guy. You've been on Discraft for who knows how long. What do you mean? You don't have a Buzz that's a little beat up for the guy?
Well, yeah, but I wonder if there were cues that like Bob said, "Hey, Paul, don't
Yeah,
let him say that he's allowed to like take people's beat-in stuff. Like you have to
Yeah.
go straight off the
Yeah.
shelf."
Or maybe like, hey, mention Buzz SS, mention the Scorch, mention that would make.
I
more
also
sense.
thought it was very convenient that he found a Tim Barham Buzz SS
And Tim was the one
from
like in the warehouse.
years ago. That has not. That's not supposed to be in the warehouse anymore.
Yeah.
Would it think?
I
That
have one of
Tim
those.
planted that there from like his collection. He was like, I'm gonna put this right
Yeah.
here.
Oh, this is gonna do numbers.
But
for
also,
him.
like Rick can beat up stuff in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So
As many rounds as they play and as hard as they throw with stuff. They figure
Ricky
it out.
throws. Let me just tell you right now, the disc comes out of Ricky's hand. Like AB throws far, right? And a lot of other guys so far, like Simon throws really far. I'm thinking of guys I've seen in person. AB, Calvin. But the disc comes out of Ricky's hand different than those guys. I mean, Ricky's just like all just upper body, not even the arm. It's just upper body, and it just explodes, dude. He throws so far. So it'll be interesting to see what he's actually throwing for a distance driver. I bet it's the Venom. It has to be.
Yeah.
He was throwing the Enforcer with like the most stable plastic he could find at DD. So
I'm trying to think of some out of production molds too, because like when they did last year was really cool. They did their Pro Tour series and then they did Signature series, which was like the off season. They got to pick a random disc.
Yeah.
And Chris Dickerson did like the Predator, which is a very old, insanely popular mold. Like
Yeah.
if you go back to Doss's In the Bag, he basically said like I threw Forces, I threw Predators, and then I putted. That was it. So if they could find something for him that's like out of production but bring it back as like a limited run, I think that would be a really good idea. Maybe the Punisher or something. I think the Punisher is like the same numbers as the Force, but flatter.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
That'd be cool.
that would be cool.
What do you think the Tour Series plastic is going to be this year? Because they always do something crazy, and they haven't released the cap wrap yet for 2025, and that's usually what the plastic is going to end up being.
I think it's going to be that confetti stuff that I got in the zone.
I think, yeah, that would be a good one.
Confetti Z, I think is what that was.
Crystal.
I think it's. Is it? Oh, confetti crystal.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it needs to be like the clearest, or else it doesn't look good, or I don't know, something weird.
It needs to be something manageable.
Yeah.
But it's always that more overstable for the pros or whatever the case may be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that one year, was it 2000 or 2020, they had a run of their tour series that was like pretty understable for their stuff. I can't remember.
That's true.
I said I thought there's a chance it's TI. We'll see. Just because that they redesigned TI at the end of last year. I'm saying something different.
I don't think it. Well, no, I don't think it would be just generic TI. I think they would be a mix. Because like 2015, they did something. I think it might have been a Ledgestone run, but it was like TI Flex. It's probably the best feeling plastic I've ever felt.
So the new TI stuff they made in Paul Macbeth's disc were so bad they had to like turn around and fix it like immediately. It was so bad.
Yeah, that one was bad. But then I've heard good things about the other TI runs they did right after that. After they did the fix, so.
I felt one and it was better, but like the ones that they ran, oh my gosh, it was so bad.
My buddy Eric has one of the new Lunas. And he
that's
said
what I got.
It feels insane. Like
I got the first run that they sent out of those Lunas, and then I immediately sold it.
Oh, okay.
Because
this one's probably off the shelf,
glossy.
so it's definitely after they fixed it. It would be really funny if they did something like putter plastic for the tour series.
OD.
Yeah.
Or like, what was this like super flexible swarm that was like the Ledgestone thing, like just a bit and everything for the
it was
signature
like
series
X or something. Yeah. No, I think I'm gonna throw this out there, but I kind of hope Discraft doesn't hear it because I might have plans. But if they do the confetti crystal and then they do a bottom stamp reversed so you see through the disc. Do you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that would actually
like basically
like
the stamp
Lunas,
itself
like the
is
the 5 whatever Lunas, the 5X Lunas that had the top and the bottom.
Yeah, but so the bottom is like actually like mirrored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't read it from underneath, but when you flip it over, because they're going to be crystal. I mean, if they are, they would be crystal, so you could read it.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody?
I'm excited.
Closing thoughts on Rick?
He looks great.
I
think he's more excited than ever.
I'm more interested in watching Rick this year than I was last year.
There you go.
That's a great thing.
A couple quick sponsorship things I wanted to touch on that I don't think we've talked about for the emergency pod. 2 things. I want to know you guys' opinion. I think that the media has slept on Evan Smith to DD. Evan Smith ended up top like 25. What was he, 22 in the world at the end of the year?
Good player.
Outside of the Instagram like picture, have they done anything about it?
No,
not
that I know of.
I've seen Parker Welk is doing a lot of YouTube videos on like DD molds.
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. I wish I could also see Evan Smith doing it, but I can
tell you, I still don't know what Evan Smth looks like. That may
I
be
do
a me
because
problem,
so he was on
That's
Clash
not a you
last
problem.
year. He was on Clash last year, and Overthrow is sponsored by Clash. So they had him in their building doing live streams all the time and stuff. So I could actually pick him out of a crowd. But yeah, he's very generic.
Evan Smith.
But so is Parker
Welk.
So maybe Evan Smith is doing the YouTube videos, and I'm just like mixing them up. I don't know.
By the way, did you guys hear how Parker Welk was told he had 2 days to make a decision to stay with DGA?
I did not hear that.
Oh.
Yeah, he had 2 days. 2 days. DGA said, "Here's your deal." It's pretty much the same thing they offered him last year. You have 2 days to make a decision. And he was like, and he's also said he didn't think about touring this year. It was just going to be, he was going to play certain events and whatnot.
Yeah.
So he was trying to figure something out quick. So he pretty much said he doesn't want to throw DG under the bus, but he thinks they kind of duped him a little bit.
It would be funny if there was just one person that forgot to give him the contract, and then they had a deadline of like when they were announcing the team.
Like,
so they're like,
we were supposed to send you this like 2 weeks ago.
yeah, you only have 2 days left. I'm so sorry.
my
And then
bad.
like,
Yeah, but he also admitted like it was probably my fault that I wasn't speaking to more companies earlier.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, bro, you're a business. You got to be thinking about that.
One more thing I wanted to hit on too, I don't think we've talked about. If you haven't listened to Casey White, recently did an interview on the Upshot, which was like a very candid, like really good interview with Casey White. But he mentioned that his new Discmania deal is purely Discmania made plastics, like no more Innova made Discmania molds. So that is something that they have written into his new contract. So I don't think we talked about that, but I think it is very smart for Discmania to do, and I would not be surprised if they add that into all of their future contracts.
Yeah. Very smart. And now Casey has to replace 95% of his bag, because if you ever watched it in the bag, it is all ridiculously old Innova stuff.
It is.
So
well, see, honestly, with all these pros, I don't think that's an issue. I think that's more of like creature comforts of I know
like
what
confidence
this disc
in the disc specifically, less than like the flight
I've had this
itself.
disc forever, so I'm going to use this one. I mean, it's the same reason I'm still using Baby Blue,
right?
And not beating in a new Marvel. Actually, I am, but it's a different slot. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just the confidence of like I know what this disc is going to do. Now he just has to fill the bag with the same stuff and then just beat it to crap.
Yeah. It sounds like Gannon's putting more new stuff in his bag.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he likes honestly, Gannon to me feels like a person that likes a new disc and like how it flies. So I could see him being the one that like after a couple tournaments, just swapping it with a brand new one because he knows like.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gannon's play style too lends itself more to I need new and overstable versus like I need like Casey's more like that Woods type guy, like Kaiser flip type guy. So I think it makes more sense that he's like I like the old like beat in, like it isn't going to get more flippy kind of thing. Where I think you're spot on. Where Gannon's more of like if this isn't flexing out immediately, I need a new one in my bag tomorrow.
Yeah, Tyler always brings up golf in our podcast, so I'm going to bring up skateboarding.
Nice.
What you did about Phil Mickelson and
I did, yes. But other than today, I have not
done that in forever. You did it.
I didn't bring up golf, but I did actually bring up golf.
He brought up golf what I was going to say is but not golf itself.
Yeah, I'll bring up skateboarding, and that's usually how pros either get new shoes every single time they go skate, or they're the ones that have holes in their shoes like constantly, and they're just like filling it with like basically duct tape and glue. I don't know.
I will say in Casey White's case, I agree with you, Corey. It's probably just a comfort thing, but like if I was Casey, I would just be so more inclined to try and sell stuff that you could buy the exact one of. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, I mean, I don't know if he cares about that as much. Obviously, he cares about the Skywalkers and things like that, but now he's got it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Before we shut down this podcast, just want to give an update. 44,000 views on the building the bag.
Climbing. All right,
4,000 views in the last hour
since we've been podcasting, and we have not 4,000. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this kind of more concise little emergency pod. Like I said, not exactly planned, but we wanted to hop on. Obviously we had a ton to yap about with Ricky. We'll be shutting it down a little bit early. I'm sure we'll be talking to the chat a little bit after, so if you do not come join the live streams, we're here on Wednesday nights 7:45 Central Time, live every other week right now. Sorry, faux pas on my end. Check us out on Spotify and YouTube after the fact as well. Like and subscribe, all that nonsense. We also have merch and affiliate links with Foundation if you would like to support the podcast. With all that being said, we're going to start getting more into like actual season stuff probably pretty soon. We'll probably start some too early picks with our next episode. So excited for 2025. It came really fast. Everybody flash your sponsor in the camera right now. 3, 2, 1, go. Got it. Super Bowl this weekend. Who's everybody got? Tyler's got the Eagles.
Eagles 41-31.
Getting specific. Oh my
Detroit
God.
Lions.
Got them. I got the Eagles as well. I hope they win.
I got the Eagles as well. Yeah.
All right, everybody. We're out of here.
Bye.
Good night.